Hey everyone, this is Rob from Intended Consequences. On this episode of Pursue the Ride, we're going to list out the 5 things that people in cars do that motorcycle riders hate. These are things that you might not even think is an issue or even be aware you're doing, but I promise motorcycles nearby notice and they hate it. So let's get into it. Hit the graphic. Starting with number 5, smoking weed. Oh yeah, we can smell you smoking that reefer. I realize you think you're being crafty by smoking it up in a moving car with the wind blowing the smoke out the window, but trust me, the motorcycles nearby can smell you in all of your stinky goodness. Motorcyclists smell all sorts of funky odors out on the road, so it's not too out of place, but it does unmistakably stand out, and if we can smell it, so can the motorcycle cops. Yes, I know that recreational use of marijuana in your state may be legal, but I also know that operation of a motor vehicle while under the influence of any drug is still illegal. So just keep that in mind. Number 4, trying to talk to me. Now try to imagine this. You're sitting on your motorcycle at a busy intersection, waiting on a red light to turn green. You're at your most vulnerable as a small, heavy, off-balance stationary object. You're watching the traffic ahead of you, crossing your path, and wondering if any are going to blow their light and race through the intersection. You're also watching traffic coming up behind you, wondering if they're going to see you and if you're going to have to use an escape path to avoid getting rear-ended. And there's also the half-dozen tasks you're prepared to execute when your light turns green, just to successfully start moving again without spinning the tire, stalling out, or tipping over. Then, with all of this going on, you hear a faint noise to your side. What is it? Glancing over, you see the driver of the car beside you is trying to get your attention. Oh no! Is my bike leaking? Is something wrong? Is my bike on fire? Am I on fire? A quick check reveals that everything's fine, but the driver's still trying to talk to you. Well, what is it? Oh, yeah, right. Yeah. Thank you. I know I have a nice bike. Okay, I get it. It's nice that you are nice or angry about something, but my mind is on a dozen other more important things. Not to mention, my engine is loud, my helmet cancels noise somewhat, and add in ear protection, I'm basically just lip reading at that point anyway. Most times, in my experience, it's usually just someone wanting to give me a compliment on my bike. But then again, I'm a guy on a bike. Girls riding bikes sometimes have a different version of what car drivers say when they're talking to them. And I'll let Corrine explain that.
Same scenario that Rob described, right? I'm doing the same things, being aware of the same things, having the same troubles hearing someone trying to talk to me, only instead of just complimenting my bike, the driver, often a guy, is complimenting me. Only not in a nice, cool sort of way. I cannot even begin to count the amount of times I've been asked if I was riding my boyfriend's bike, or someone so surprised that anyone with boobs could ride their own motorcycle, they just had to say something. To even the lowest class human being who thinks it's funny to offer to let me ride something else. I suppose experiences may vary, but having talked with a lot of women riders, this crap is common. Listen, fellas, if you think hitting on a women rider is effective or even a good idea, consider this. Most of us are carrying guns. Just saying.
Thanks for sharing that, Corrine. Now, from my perspective, if you want to shout at me that I have a nice bike, odds are I'll give you a nice thumbs up and that's going to be about it. I imagine Corrine's response, and most riders, would be about the same. But don't hit on riders or expect to engage in any form of conversation at an intersection. We hate that. Now, these last 2 things motorcyclists hate are more social things. These next 3 demonstrate just how much a rider's life is in the hands of the car drivers around them. Number 3, tailgating. Look, nobody likes to be tailgated, and motorcycle riders are no exception. The difference is that a slight bump or fender bender between 2 cars is just an inconvenience with a little whiplash. For a motorcyclist, we can get seriously injured or even die. Even without a traffic accident, as a rider, I need to be more focused on what's ahead of me, not behind me. So we hate it when we have to pay more attention to the car behind us. Again, nobody likes to be tailgated, period. But if you find yourself close to the back of a motorcycle, just know that rider is getting really, really angry about it. I have literally seen riders who are being tailgated get so mad that when they eventually come to a red light or a stop sign, they'll get off their bikes and go give that driver behind them the business. What's the business, you may ask? Well, experiences may vary, but road rage is a very real thing, no matter what type of vehicle you're driving. And remember that most of us riders carry guns. Now, that doesn't excuse any driver or rider for illegal behavior, but just know that tailgating is bad. Don't tailgate anyone. Number 2, using your cell phone. Like tailgating, this one is an issue for everyone, not just motorcycle riders. The thing is, driver attentiveness is especially important for riders when you're on your phone. You aren't being very attentive. We see it and we know. Stay off your phone, but more importantly, don't text and drive. That is just the worst. And I'm not going to elaborate heavily on this one, you all know it. Just know that motorcycle riders literally see you texting on your phone while driving, and we hate it. Number 1, you don't see me. The quickest way to get a motorcycle rider's heart rate up is to suddenly pull out in front of them or change lanes into them. There are countless videos on YouTube of what happens from the rider's perspective when a vehicle pulls out into traffic or cuts them off. It's scary stuff. Equally in those videos, you'll see the driver's reaction of surprise and confusion as to why either a motorcycle hit them or is kicking their side mirrors in rage. Honestly, while driving my car, even I have had a close call or two with a motorcycle I didn't see. And the middle fingers and dirty looks I received from those riders were pretty well earned on my part. The thing is, even attentive drivers suffer from not seeing motorcycles, and there's actually a scientific explanation for this. The actual studies cost money to view, so I'm going to link a couple articles referencing them below. The point is that as drivers, we train our brains what to look out for when it comes to vehicles and other hazards. Because there's so much going on and so many inputs, our experiences are used by our brains to filter out background noise, and that allows us to focus on what's important. Aside from being the smallest and therefore hardest vehicles to see on the road, motorcycles in general are uncommon, and you could drive for many hours and not even see one. Is this reasonable lack of encounters which, repeated over many years, trains the brain to simply not register a motorcycle as something to look for, the same way as we look for cars, trucks, and pedestrians? To me, the biggest irony is that it's new drivers, without much driving experience at all, who actually notice motorcycles on the road more, for the fact that they haven't trained their brains to filter out bikes. Okay, so experienced drivers are the problem, and science shows that you literally do not see motorcycles out on the roadways. So what can you do about it? Well, I mean, what can we do about it? Well, let's not pretend that motorcycle riders don't drive cars too. Well, we trained our brains not to notice motorcycles, so now we have to retrain our brains to notice motorcycles. Thankfully, my MSF rider coach Belinda gave me a great way to do this. Have you ever been on a long trip and played a game with your siblings, friends, or kids where you're looking for either something of a certain color or type, or that alphabet game where you're looking for words that start with a certain letter and your wife is in the passenger seat and it's always a split second faster and therefore always wins no matter how hard you try? What was I saying something? Right, the spot the thing game. So play that game, only this time that thing is motorcycle helmets. Whoever spots the most motorcycle helmets wins. Do that long enough and you'll be retraining your brain that motorcycles are something to be looked out for on the roads. And if you're playing it with your kids or someone else, it's also training their brains too. We see you, and I don't think it's too much to ask for you to see us. Motorcycles and cars aren't going away anytime soon, and neither are the roads that we share. If I had to guess, I'd say most drivers out there aren't going out of their way to bother motorcycle riders. And without any experience with motorcycles, it's also easy to believe that most drivers don't know that they're making us mad or putting us in life-threatening danger. I'm going to be the optimist here and give drivers the benefit of the doubt. But I do ask that all you drivers who see this video consider what I've said and think about it the next time you're playing Count the Helmets and that helmet happens to be riding right next to you. If you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe. Remember guys, keep the rubber side down, and I'll see you next time.